All right, guys, we're back again for part 2 of our engine and transmission pull on my 94 Mustang GT convertible that I'm building for the Hot Rod Power Tour 2023, so stay tuned. All right, guys, so today the plan is just to kind of do a few things. We'll see how far we get. Nothing promised, nothing too much planned. But the first thing I want to do is go ahead and get rid of this hood. All right, so hood removal. Obviously, there's usually not a lot to taking off the hood, right? You got 4 bolts. But one guy was asking for kind of a hood tutorial, how to align the hood. Well, aligning the hood, I think a lot of what goes on to that is taking off the old hood. So what I mean by that is what I like to do is I take a Sharpie, so you can see I've already done it, just a 5-point Sharpie, a Sharpie around the bowl holes, and this works if you're taking off your stock hood, putting your stock, the original hood back on like we're going to be doing. So the hope is when you go to put this baby back on, you've already kind of got those little Sharpie marks, and if you get it adjusted just where that is, hopefully it's going to be in the exact same spot. It may still not be the case. It's hoods suck, man. It's always, at least for me, if you guys have a better trick, let me know. But for me, it's always just been a little bit of, you push this side, you tweak this side, you cross your fingers, you hope, and eventually, a couple beers later, you get it all right. But anyway, the marking with the Sharpie trick, that's kind of always worked for me. So I'm going to blow these 4 bolts off. We'll get this thing put over in the little garage, and then we can get started on some more actual taking off. So we're going to see if we can take that hood, have my wife come out and help me, see if we can get that bad boy to just sit on top of the death cart. So we got that all protected off, and hopefully we got clear enough little path here to make it through safely without biting it. Forgot to hit the button on the freaking auto lapse timer, but we got the hood in here. I forgot how freaking light that thing is, man. God, it's so light, so easy. But so yeah, this baby's safely in here. Now we can get to work. So with that hood out of the way, now I'd like to get into draining our coolant system. That would be kind of ideal, and then that way we could start to maybe start to cut, some of these radiator hoses and all that kind of stuff. I started taking off the smog pump, so I'd like to finish getting the smog pump off there. I think I got 2 of the 3 bolts cracked off for the actual pulley for the smog pump. I think I got to take that off because I couldn't get the bolt out. So hopefully that'll come off. And then, yeah, I'm just going to keep undoing everything I can. I don't know what I'm doing, so until it looks like it's all good, we'll just keep on rocking and rolling. For draining the radiator fluid, you're going to want to just go ahead and pop your cap off. That way the bad boy can breathe, and then we got to get underneath the car to be able to undo this drain plug. All right, fellas, so the drain plug on these cars, or I should say the petcock, is just over on the passenger side. And it's right there. That little dude. Yep, see him right there? So you can just get it with your hand right there. And then there's actually a little tube sticking out that you can put a piece of hose over, and that way you can just get it to drain right into your bucket or whatever you got. So should be pretty easy. I just grabbed a piece of little, I don't know, some fuel hose or something I had laying around, some Goodyear, so it should be a good time. But let's see if it works. Try to get this set up into the pan. I tell you guys what, this might be the first time I've drained coolant out of something and it actually worked. So my little hose fit on there pretty good. Looks like it's still kind of bypassing that hose and dripping, but anyway, we'll let that drip out, and while that's happening, let's move it back up top. All right, next thing I got to get is this last bolt off this little smog pump, and then we can finish getting that top bolt out. We got one on the bottom, get that bad boy out of the way, and then get all this whole tubing and crap that goes to it all out of there too, because none of that's going back on. All right, so I got the little pulley off, just 3 bolts. That came right off. I got the top bolt out. And then for this whole, whatever all this crap is, I just ended up cutting these hoses. I'm not going to reuse it, so I didn't want to mess with it. And these are super old, so if anyone wanted to reuse these portions, they'd want to put on new hoses anyway. So anyway, now I can get underneath. The radiator fluid also looks like it's totally done. So we can go ahead and button that back up, and then I can get underneath there, finish getting that smog pump out. Smog pump out. So if anyone is in need of one of these smog pumps, hit me up, Brandon at peakperformanceengineering.com. And this bad boy could be yours, because she ain't going back on mine. Next up, I am working on getting rid of the alternator, or disconnecting the alternator. So it looks like you could disconnect it from back here and then pull the wire this way, but it looks like it'll be easier if there's just one connector here that I popped out, and then I think I can just, whoops, I already slid this thing up, and then now I think we can just undo these battery cables here and be able to pull it, and then that way that harness can just stay with the motor until we get it, over onto an engine stand, and then we can more easily disassemble it over there. Now for fuel injection, instead of unplugging all 14,000 of these things, it looks like the wires just kind of run straight back here to this one bolt. So I'm hoping we can just disconnect, and then we can run this back and then be able to pull that out, with the whole engine. And again, we can disassemble, once we get it out of this whole freaking engine bay. And then I'll probably disconnect this, even though it looks like it runs down to the trans tunnel somewhere. So we probably need to undo that anyway. All right, so I got this stuff all disconnected pretty well. Looks like kind of now the next thing I need to do is start disconnecting some stuff for the air conditioning. Now, my air conditioning works, but it must have a slow leak, because when I first bought the car, the AC worked, and then later on it stopped working. So I checked the system, it's empty, there's nothing coming out of it. So I'm going to go ahead, I do want to keep the AC, so I am going to try to keep this all intact and put it back on, because that's kind of a key point to this car is, I want to be able to have AC. If I have the kids with me, I want to make sure they're comfortable, the wife, all that good stuff. And for example, like when you do long tours like Hot Rod Power Tour, it's just too dang hot sometimes to have the top down. So you need to have the top up, especially if you're cruising for hours on end, So anyway, so let's see how this all goes. But fingers crossed that I can get all this AC junk out of my way and then be able to put it all back together, and then we'll have to diagnose kind of what's wrong or what's leaking on the AC. But so I think I got to get this kind of, I think this is like the dry filter evap canister deal. So get that. That'll get that big thing out of the way, disconnect it from the back of the compressor, and then just start disconnecting what we need to. But that'll help me to get a couple more of these little hoses kind of pushed back out of the way. All right, so I got the little 10 millimeter bolt that was holding the AC lines onto the back of the compressor. Then there was a little 8 millimeter bolt right there. So this is loose, but what I've got actually, I'm gonna have to do some research. I don't think I've ever taken off. Anytime I've worked on a car with air conditioning, usually we've been deleting the air conditioning. So I've never, usually I would just take a, I would just cut all these lines off and throw them away. But so I'm not exactly sure how the heck to get off, for example, like this. There must be some kind of special little tool that pushes on this spring that I can kind of see that's holding it. I'm guessing it's kind of similar to like how it is for fuel lines, right? I have the fuel line tool that'll separate it, pop it out. So anyway, I need to separate that guy and then back over here into this one. Like I removed the clip. There's one of these big clips, but I don't know how the heck to get it out. But I need that to come out so that this whole, evap canister can come out. That can all come out, and then, that'll let all this stuff come out, all that good stuff. Then we can move on to, well, after I finish that, we can move on to the power steering pump. But until that's done, I think I'm going to start messing with the fuel line. So I've already depressurized the fuel system. There's just a little Schrader valve. You just pop that out, hit the Schrader valve. So now you just got to pop all these little clamps that are holding it on. Come on, baby. And then I've got a little tool to pop it off here. Actually, see, Ford's different. Okay, well, yeah, my tool might work still. I'm used to GM stuff. All this Ford stuff's weirding me out. But anyway, get my little stuff. We'll disconnect these two lines. And I've also seen on these SN95 cars, apparently these fuel lines fail pretty often. So here's where they come up from the hard line right here. So a lot of guys will replace these with braided stainless line, so that's probably what I'll do too, but I'm gonna have to wait till I get the manifold all on and then kind of figure out how much I need, and then I'll probably run new braided lines just to be safe. All right, so check it out. This was a nice little surprise. Amazon just dropped me off the fender covers. Yeah, so that's pretty cool, huh? Let's see. Maybe it'll be better than the towels we've been using to protect the fenders, but yeah, we hook that on right there.
Do you want me to do this side?
Sure. Hook it up.
Okay.
There we go. Look at that. Ooh. Feel fancy, Bob.
Not fancy, Don. Do I hook it in a little
Just,
one?
yeah, you hook it to like anything you can that, you know,
It's the other side.
let it hang. Hold.
It's kind of hard, man.
All right, now let it hang back. See? There you go.
But you still have to make it go up because now, see?
Okay. Look, it even comes with a fancy front cover, Cam. We're not going to know what to do with all this fanciness.
I keep peeling to you, and it's so funny. What do I do? No, I want to do it.
So I did it.
You did it in that.
I did it in this hole right here.
Hey, Dad.
Sure.
Okay.
And then we'll do like this one,
This one.
like maybe
hook
just,
to that. Yeah.
yeah, or even like maybe here. Yeah, there we go. Cool. Look at that. Look at all this protection, Cam.
But are you still recording?
Mm-hmm. So, as it turns out, I must have loaned out my fuel disconnect tool, or I lost it. So I ended up just ordering a whole new set off of Amazon, so that'll be here in a couple days. So we'll tackle getting the fuel lines off, and then I also learned that the fuel line, kits, they also work on the air conditioning. So I bought kind of a master kit where I can take off AC lines, oil lines, fuel lines. So basically, I'll never run into this problem again. It's going to come in a nice little thing, carrying case, so hopefully I can't lose it. So anyway, I'm going to move on to some other stuff. So it's getting kind of late here already. We just ran to the store, came back. So one thing I might want to try is I think I might see if I can sneak underneath and try to undo the 2 bolts on each side for the exhaust manifold. So it looks like they're pretty rusty, so I'm going to kind of get under there, kind of see what we can do. Maybe I can get those broke free, and then that might be it. Call it a day, and then we'll come back tomorrow and do some more. All right, so last night I tried to get underneath the car with my big old 18-millimeter socket and an extension and a swivel, and I tried to get off the 2 bolts that are holding on the exhaust manifold just on this driver's side, but it was no bueno. With my 1/2-inch impact, it wasn't coming loose, so I didn't have any PB Blaster, so I had to run to the store this morning. We got some PB Blaster. I got those babies soaking and percolating, so we'll give those a shot a little bit later. Hopefully they come loose. So in the meantime, I also, when I went to the store, I ended up renting a pulley puller, because apparently to get off the power steering pump, we've got to actually remove this pulley, which is really silly because the pulley has a bunch of holes in it, and it is so dang close to having enough room to be able to just get your socket in there and get the nuts off. So I have no idea why Ford didn't just, machine those out. I mean, just a smidge bigger, and you'd have enough room to get the bolts off. So blows my mind. But anyway, we're going to get that out of the way. I'm also contemplating if I want to go ahead and just remove the radiator entirely, because I think I'm going to replace it. I mean, it works fine. There's no issues, but it could be original to the car, so I'd hate to be out somewhere and have the stupid thing bust a leak. Especially, you can get nice 3 or 4 row aluminum, aftermarket intercoolers, and of course they're Chinese off-brand stuff, but they're like $100. I mean, it's super cheap. I could also get one for a little bit more money that's got like 2 slim 10-inch fans on them instead of this kind of large single fan. So I also kind of like the idea of that too, because we have 2 fans. If something happens on the road, we've got redundancy of having a second fan. So Plus, it's going to give us more room, so I like all of those things. So I probably will end up pulling this out. Let's get started. Let's get this pump out of here. All right, so supposedly this is the kit I need to be able to remove the power steering pulley. So I just rented this from O'Reilly's. So apparently one of these guys are going to thread in here, and then there's kind of a collar that goes and holds this on, and then so as you thread this in, it'll pull the actual pulley off. That's not the right size, obviously. So let's figure out what one we got, and we'll get rolling. All right, so before I get around to pulling this pulley off, I want to be able to get my my impact on there, just because I'm lazy. So I think I'm going to go ahead and just get the radiator out of the way. So it looks like there was a couple little ground bolts I got to get out of the way so I can get this top bracket off, which that guy's just held in with some 8mm too. I already got this one off here on this side. I think I did. Oh, there's just a wire in the way there. But anyway, yeah, I think once we get these two top things off, this will just kind of slide out. I've got a couple clips here that I've got to pop off. Oh, break them off. Perfect. Yeah, that's great. So let's get that one broke off. Plus, you know, having this whole thing out of the way, it'll be kind of nice too when we go to pull the motor. It gives us a little more room to swing the engine forward. And like I said, I probably won't use the radiator anyway. So get that bad boy up out of here. We can go ahead and check that radiator off the list, but man, we made ourselves quite a little mess, but lots of room for activity, so let's go ahead and get this thing popped out of here. All right, so we got the pulley slid off. Now we need to use these weird hex, opposite hex things. I don't even know, star bit thing. Anyway, E12, that's the size. And we'll get those 3 bolts out, and then we can at least swing this thing out of the way. This does have a little bit of play, so I might even look into just, I don't know how much these things cost, but maybe we'll just get a new one and, you know, just to be safe. Check it out, Pops just rolled up, brought me the cherry picker, so whenever we get to that point, we're good to go. So what's up, Pops? Say what's up to the peoples. How's your eyeball doing? This guy decides to weld without his damn welding helmet like 3 weeks ago, and he still got flash burn. Needs to go to the doctor. All right, let's keep rolling. All right, so there's a ground down in here, kind of next to or on the water pump, I guess. So I took that ground off, and then I'm following the harness that comes on this passenger side of the motor, around under the crank, and then it comes up here to the battery. So I disconnected the power battery, but it's also kind of got this ground cable. So luckily this is this is pretty much disconnected. So anyway, I got to pop all that out, and then I think that whole thing will swing down. And then we're getting to the point, we're pretty good up top. Now we got to start, you know, messing with more of the harder stuff underneath. But yeah, coming along real nice. And my dad's here now, so hopefully we'll have a little bit extra help. All right, so far we got the AC compressor out of here. I think basically everything up here is done, as far as I can tell, so we'll see. But next I moved on to the inside. I didn't film it, but you guys have seen it in some of the other videos, but just went ahead, got the you know, shift handle, all that stuff out of here. I got the entire shifter out of here. Just put some tape over it. Just for right now, just to keep junk from falling in there. But one thing we need to do is this aftermarket shifter I put in, we did that in another video, but it's got some really weak springs. It came with 2 sets of springs, so I need to actually swap out and put in the harder spring. So we'll get that done in the meantime. But I think next I've got to get under here. I'm going to try to get the exhaust bolts off. I got to get the bolts off for the drive shaft. Get that all done. I'll drain the fluid from the trans and keep on rocking. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and recap what we got done today. A lot of it I ended up not filming because my dad was here, and so he was kind of helping me, and we were just kind of flying through. But we ended up getting the shifter completely out of the interior, so that part's all set, all ready to go. Again, I think we're pretty much all set on top except for the AC lines and the fuel lines, which we got to wait till tomorrow to get the stuff for that. But the biggest thing that I was really worried about that ended up coming out sort of kind of easily after we sprayed that PB blast was the exhaust manifold bolts. So the two on each side, I got those totally blasted off. I got the O2 sensors disconnected. So that's all good, all ready to go. So underneath the car, and I also got the transmission fluid drained out. So underneath the car, we've got the drive shaft, still has to get unbolted. The mid pipe, or the pipe with the cats, has to get unbolted, which that's going to be really easy because the second half of the bolts have already come out back in the summer. So, they're actually new bolts, stainless steel bolts. That'll be easy. And then, still got like transmission cross member. There's quite a few actually electrical connections and stuff that I saw in the transmission. So we got to get that all out still. And then it's just going to be engine mount bolts. So unless I'm missing anything, there's not a whole lot left. So I'm pretty stoked. So tomorrow, game plan, drive shaft. We'll kind of do all the other stuff we need to do. And I've got the engine hoist now, so I might be maybe pulling this thing tomorrow. If not, I would think by Friday for sure. So maybe one more day of messing around. Friday we'll do the pull, and then we'll have this thing out, and then we start cleaning it, getting it disassembled, and getting all the performance goodies ready. So that's going to be it for this one, guys. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. We'll catch you guys on the next one.